sort of format. I'm doing this sort of thing that like teachers do, and I'm sort of pausing a little bit when one's finished. The second half is going to take the same sort of format. I've only had 3 open mic people sign up, so I'm going to give myself this slot here. But then we'll do the invited poets, open mic, invited poet, same thing, and then we're over. So I'm just going to read 2. An enjoyable night was had by all. Thanks to the all but who attended at the first, and not only first, but foremost internationally meet of us who took place in the Cabin Club, 60312 Roxville. Members took stock of the large array having on the cards and of many minor biscuitware and finer vans from the southern region. Because of the potential clash and of the actual, see every Wednesday, with the Prague chess, further lessons will take heed from readjustment. Yet, spite the evening, in those many rousing choruses and most amicable rounds to be had, brotherly also too with our sisters at the Western Fellowship chapter, and so many being seen to avail the larger tops for tabletop, certainly dancing, certainly bore the load. Our fantastic service, Jan, pronounced Jan, came to remark the feel of the groin step, if not the arm, and many members' sight were swooned by the sight of more than a dozen flagons or more so wending, ladies. All events, as the chessmen being happy too, and though not on occasion any, it being quite fairly being long-term damage to their elo in the long, barriers were put forth, grudge forgot, and a kind of oozy amnesty descent. Many thanks to all who did in part or did in whole, and of course to Caroline. And it's included what we may hope may be the healthy start and less successful to the toast. Relative peace ensued, and no need to call in the apparatuses, the locals note remarking how surprised, and what would all suffice to say, those an enjoyable night was had by. An attempt at criticism, but what may be worse. First, of course, that you were bred in darkness and suckled on blood and came crying into the world. That you spent your early years in a more or less self-imposed hermitage. In any sort of predicament, you are the first to jump. It holds as much fear for you to jump into the abyss as to take part. Designer and fags hold as much interest for you now, at your age. There are 24 articulating vertebrae in you, and yet you cannot come close to the sort of action. I have seen you swiftly, I know you thought unobserved. You tell me that you were only wee and cannot be blamed. The important thing's to learn to think crudely, you say, as that's what the great do. That you came crying into the world, and since then have barely stopped. You said it was real silk, and that you'd only do a deal as it was me. You would rather cut off your left arm than go in sick. It's off, but you'd rather wrench up your guts than be restrained. You silenced the whole room with your intervention. I don't think it could just be me. Need I really remind you of the autumn of 2013? There was a while you thought we were going to be saved by property developers. We haven't done it for years, but you need no ironing alibi for me to walk in on you with your shirt on. You lack the sort of emotional maturity you might expect. I cringed to think of you then saying that, and so openly, when she was there and everything. It had only been, 2 weeks? On the day when you got into the privacy of the polling booth, you fell back on what you thought was your economic self-interest. You are a different person, and in their different company, you are a different company. The amount of times I've had to say it to you, I'm growing sick. But you should steam open his mail and pocket the unfranked stamps. I know the circumstances, but you could have made a bit of effort, surely. I know you were in, because I happened to be outside, and your light was off. Time for our final open mic slot now, which is Nisha Bhakoo. Nisha Bhakoo, yes. Woo!
I'm going to read 3 short poems, and the first one's called Taxidermy Queen. I will eat my lips when you accuse taxidermy queen, but I am the animal stuffed by fingers, and it was you who grabbed the squirrel's tail. My eyes like eggs are creepy still, and now I'm turning peasant pink, a doll's house, a boiled sweet, a pretty pill, a wind chime, a small fur, a body too. Can you accuse? Second poem's called Hard Body. Chronic pears to multivitamin, a juicy chunk didn't make it to magic. Hard, pretty, a touch of tough, blushing green in olive spit. I chew to take in, red currant, a romance of pins, but to the eye, Turkish delight, a deeper rose than Valentine. Okay, my final poem is called Adult Acne. Radical Bones ask you to love your girlfriend. Your girlfriend, your girlfriend, do you love her? The currency of looks rubbed raw into bleed, the intellectual foot cheese and middle-class bonery have all cheated on their girlfriends. Your girlfriend, your girl, your friends all have commas in speech. Social media accounts and simple trees with the ultimate wood, the triangular goods. She has adult acne like me, your girlfriend. Do you want her like me? Born into a massage package, the same light surfaces, the well-spoken Botox mums had cheated on their husbands. Twinned fruit, you and your mum. Breathing bluntly. Do you love your mum? Thank you.
Thank you, Nisha Bhakoo. Okay, our final poet for the night is the fantastic Kathryn Maris. Kathryn is a poet from New York City who now lives in London. She has published 2 full collections, God Loves You and The Book of Jobs, and she has a pamphlet of found poetry forthcoming with Italy Falls Press. Her poems have recently appeared in Granta, Poetry, Ploughshares, New Statesman, and the Best British Poetry. And she teaches at the Poetry School. Please give a warm welcome to Kathryn Maris.
Thank you so much for having me, Mischa, to the wonderfully named La La La. I thoroughly enjoyed the readings from Annie, Joey, Amy, and the exceptional 4 spot readers as well. So thank you so much to all of you. So I've been writing poems, although I'm not sure that they're actually poems, to be honest. I've been writing poems that are little defenses of non-normative or even uncomfortable family and domestic situations. In one instance, I wrote a found poem which consists of some slightly edited tweets I stole from the writer Kathryn Angel's Twitter timeline. In her series of tweets, she envisions a creative environment for women she calls Fuck Off Castle. And I thought it was a particularly appropriate poem for International Women's Day. Angel Kathryn, Dream. I'm going to live in a big fuck-off castle with Diane Lockhart, Alicia Florrick, and Kalinda Sharma from The Good Wife. I believe at Sarah G. Perry and at Ms. Amy Key might like to be residents too. Books will be written, justice will be served, kinda. Delicious meals will be cooked. Occasional wild parties will roll in like storms. There will be many wings as solitude and some fucking peace and quiet are needed. I will go out regularly, say every 3 weeks, to round up some men. Will Gardner and the cowboy ballistics expert dude will visit on a monthly basis. Criterion for residency. Ambivalence about cohabitation, especially with men, and intense need for solitude, punctuated by bursts of hedonism. It will be a creative castle where work is paramount. Pleasure will also be central. Key to the enterprise will be a highly pragmatic and non-judgmental approach to sexual needs. You might think I'm joking. Wrong, Buster. So this next poem is the dark opposite of Fuck Off Castle. It's an imagined prison for women. which I wrote long before the Netflix program Orange is the New Black appeared. I wrote this poem for one of my favorite online magazines, Poems in Which. Shout out! Yeah, hallelujah for Poems in Which. It's been the origin of so many lovely poems, I think. In fact, this poem got me out of a several year period of not writing at all. So it was my first poem. It was quite grateful. It's called Poem in Which I Reside in a Female Prison with 2 male guards and no allies. My sentence was to end in May, but the law changed, and although no one can satisfactorily explain how this amendment applies to me, I am admittedly deaf to cultural nuance, insisting, as though anyone cares, I have been released if I were jailed in my home country, where my crime is de rigueur, and where, too, my guards will almost certainly not be men, one of whom fucks me, which is fine, because I am that needy, whereas the other wants no sex that gives presents I can't use, like Pancho saying, Beati Presidentes. When new prisoners join, they cursorily look my way, then ignore me, as though my aging reminds them of what they'll be after 10 years of dichotomous treatment. They don't ask my advice, which is just as well because I know nothing and suffer from a brain fog that is either anxiety or else I am being poisoned, maybe by the gifts from the second prison guard, or maybe the semen from the first, or maybe, as is the predominant explanation, I am administering it myself. So this poem has some Latin and some, I guess, penises. Yeah. So nice synchronicity with Jeremy's reading. So this next poem is a very concise little modernization and update of Hawthorne's novel, The Scarlet Letter. It's called The Adulteress. The Adulteress was her joke name for herself, though unfashionable and, except in the literal sense, incorrect. She had to stop attending dinner parties as someone would inevitably say something like, I didn't know which husband to expect tonight, or your husband this, your husband that, with her partner sitting right there. She did not view herself as a joke, and yet this joke word adulteress was in her head. So she said to her daughter, who was learning to sew, can you make a big red A and sew it on my black dress? Her daughter said, which black dress? And the woman said, every black dress. This little thing I've been experimenting with, like I think of myself as a fiction writer, actually, like a fiction writer into poet's clothing. And so for this little pamphlet that I'm doing for San Riviere's kind of ephemeral press that is interested in found poetry, I actually took my journal from 2008 and early 2009 and just took fragments from it and lineated it. People always seem to want to view your poems as autobiographical. They always want to see the I as you. And so I thought, all right, well, here's me, And I'm a bit nervous about it because they're quite exposing, but I'll just read a couple of these lineated fragments. They're very short. 8 November 2008. On Eurostar to Paris with M. We're going to visit G.O.D., who's at a writer's colony for Irish people there. We'll be doing a reading of Shakespeare and Co. I'm anxious about Paris, not knowing the language. I mean, not even being able to pronounce merci after 2 years of Ivy League French. It's comforting to be with M, who will navigate and handle the problem-solving stuff, but it's more comforting to travel with H. I miss the kids. And here's another little one, 5th January. I'm next to H in bed, had 2 doses of Xanax, but still don't feel tired. One dose was at 2:45. The other, as far as I can recall, was at 7:30. But maybe I didn't take another dose. I can't remember. Such as Xanax. And then finally, I like updating old stories like the Scarlet Letter I just did. So I'm going to end with 3 little retellings of Saint Kathryn. She was the 3rd century Christian saint and virgin whose torture was ordered by the emperor. And it's funny, I belong to a little online forum, and my avatar is, a little joke to myself, is Saint Kathryn holding her wheel. And so when Kathryn, if you don't know the story of her, when she was 18, she was very beautiful, and she refused to succumb to the torture. And the emperor proposed marriage, but she refused to marry him, declaring that her spouse was Jesus. And the furious emperor condemned Kathryn to death on a spiked breaking wheel, so that's why you have the Kathryn wheel. But when she touched it, the wheel shattered. So the emperor had her beheaded when she was 18. In my poems, the wheel is metaphorical, and though she's a tortured soul, she lives to a ripe old age in my poems. And these 3 little poems are from 3 stages of her life, and I'll end with them. Kathryn and her wheel, part 1. Kathryn, who was a saint, was inseparable from her wheel. She carried it everywhere, including on dog walks and visits to the old people's home. She slept next to it in bed. Her boyfriend said, "Sometimes I feel that you and your wheel are the couple, whereas I am the 3rd wheel." Kathryn replied, "Do you know how long this wheel has been in my family? Since we were primates, that's how long. One day it will belong to my children." Kathryn and her wheel, part 2. After a few years of marriage, it became clear to her husband that Kathryn was less a saint than a victim, as in everyone had wronged her. Meanwhile, the spiky wheel became a hazardous object of rivalry among their young children. Kathryn's husband basically became Jesus in order to cope. He joked, "I'm changing my name to Jesus." The children asked, "What's Jesus?" "I'm Jesus," he said. "That's what Jesus is." And this last poem is spoken in the voice of Kathryn, and she's much older. Kathryn and her wheel, part 3. When my teachers grew old and died, when my friends went sparer and sparer, when small islands suffered from the new weather, when my children found me offensively morbid, when my looks officially went, when my enemies became friends, became rivals, became allies, became masters, became servants, until we lacked energy for anything, even escape from our celebrated cities whose skylines transition from greatness to perfect meaninglessness, as when a person loses her mind, like my cohorts who were going crazier and crazier, until I wondered, is this sensitive aging? What the fuck is going on here? I knew nothing, and the nothing I knew was more profoundly nothing even than the nothing we know in our rarest, bottommost, humblest moments, because usually we know one thing. We know we're not dead, or that apple has a feminine article in French, but this was absolute zero, like when that saint fell off a horse, then into a coma, then woke up and said to another saint, but there was nothing, that there was nada de nada, the most perfect Spanish expression, the most beautiful and poetic circle, the nothing wheel, the wheel I have carried through all roots of my life, the wheel I was fundamentally wedded to, my true beloved. Watch me touch it, now look at it, nothing. Thank you.
Tonight. It was a really fantastic evening, I thought, and the open mic slots as well. So we're going to be doing this every month, hopefully. Our next one is going to be the 5th of April, which is going to feature John Canfield and Emily Hasler, who I think are there at the moment, plus 2 more to be confirmed mystery readers. Please follow us on Twitter and Facebook if you want to be kept up to date with what's going on. And stay around for the drinks at the end and the little treats and And so that was fantastic. Thank you to everyone again. A round of applause.